Joining us now, Corey Lewandowski, who's a campaign manager for Donald Trump, is obviously right in the thick of things. Corey, it's good to have you on. What about that criticism of Ted Cruz? This is just childish. I mean, you guys are trying to dictate the moderators. You can't expect a news organization like Fox to switch its moderators, especially someone like Megyn Kelly, who's one of the prime anchors in the entire network, to pull out because, she and Trump have some, deal together.
Look, hey, thanks for having me first and foremost. Let me be clear. This is not about Megyn Kelly at all. Donald Trump has been on more television shows, done more radio interviews, more newspaper interviews than all of the other candidates combined. He's participated in 6 nationally televised debates, won every single one by every metric there is, including the decisive victor of the last debate, where he, took Ted Cruz to task for talking about New York values. So this is not about Megyn Kelly. This is about being treated fairly. And if you look back and you remember the CNBC debate where the moderators became the story of that debate, that's what the American people want to see. They want to see the candidates on stage. They want to ask and understand what the questions are and what their vision is for America. And what Fox has done here is they put Megyn Kelly in center stage, just like they did in the first debate, where she became the story and not the answers what the candidates gave. Everybody, what they remember from that first debate is the gotcha question, the shot to take Donald Trump out from the very beginning that Megyn Kelly leveled, and she was unsuccessful with it, and now Fox is trying to prop her up again, and she cannot be an unbiased source. Look, she has this infatuation with Donald Trump. I don't understand where it comes from. It's all she does is talk about him on her shows all the time, so she's not an unbiased source. And then yesterday, Fox put out a series of statements unprovoked to taunt the frontrunner about, this backroom deal with Putin that they think is going to be unfair. How is a candidate like that going to have a fair shot in the debate? And what we saw is when CNBC was unfair, the Republican National Committee stepped in. They removed NBC from future debates because they understand that this should be about the candidates and not about the moderators.
Right, but don't you think, though, Corey, that you guys have been treated, pretty well at Fox. You've been on. I don't know how many times you've been on Fox and Friends. I used to joke like a year ago that Donald Trump should just co-host it because it was on even before he became a candidate. He was on so often. People like OReilly, Bartiromo, Bill Hemmer. What about all those people? Even if I take everything you say, Kelly's unfair. Well, what about all these other hosts that have been at Fox and it's been a good exchange and it's been a tough exchange?
Well, that's exactly right. And if you look at what the Fox business debate was, and I know it's a different channel than Fox per se, but it was a very well done debate. The questions were thoughtful. They were policy related. They were respectful. And what we saw was, Maria asked some tough questions. She did a great job, and Mr. Trump was very happy with the way the questions were asked and the manner they were asked, and he was happy with the outcome of the debate because it was done well. If you look at his interviews with Bill O'Reilly, maybe Bill O'Reilly should be the moderator of one of these debates. He asked tough questions. He's on with Mr. Trump on a regular basis. Mr. Trump is on with him on a regular basis. Put Bill O'Reilly up there to ask those tough questions. It's not about the question. It's about the personal attacks leveled by the moderator who wants to make a story about herself and not let the candidates talk. Bill O'Reilly is no easy interview. I don't think anybody would say he is. And Mr. Trump goes on his show, once a week or once every other week, and he asks the tough questions, and Mr. Trump is always there to answer those questions. So it's not a matter of
could that change things, Corey? Could that be some type of compromise? And I believe it. I'm asking this as a journalist, not for someone who has any relationship with Fox News, but as a journalist, I'm asking this question. Is there any way to change that? Would there be anything that could happen between now and Thursday night that could bring you back to that debate? Anything?
I don't think so. Fox News put out a statement unprovoked about leveling personal attacks or trolling Mr. Trump on the internet. And Fox News has come out and said publicly that they're going to keep Megyn Kelly on that debate stage, and that's their prerogative. But it's our prerogative as the GOP front-running candidate by far in every poll in Iowa and then nationwide to choose to participate or not. And what we're going to do instead is host our own event, which will allow us to raise money for veterans and those who have been wounded overseas, and bring some remembrance back to these people who have done everything for our country because, our politicians have failed our veterans and we're going to go raise money for them because right now in our country they're treated like third-class citizens.
But Corey,
and
don't people want questions though? Don't people want? Aren't you guys depriving the American people of the viewers hearing Trump more on trade, on immigration, on his solutions?
Here's what's going to happen. Look, without Trump on that stage, you're going to go from potentially 20 or 25 million viewers to 1 million viewers because the American people don't want to see a bunch of all talk, no action politicians sit up on the debate stage and talk about things that will never change. There's only one clear executive in this race, only one clear leader in this race. It's Donald Trump, and if he's not on that debate stage, no one's going to tune in, and Fox knows it, and they're going to end up refunding a lot of money to their sponsors who thought they were going to have massive ratings like they did the last time, but won't if Donald Trump is on that stage.
All right, Corey, if you can hold, would love to have you for another few minutes. We'll take a break. 855-40-LAURA.
And I actually think Cruz has the most to lose if Trump doesn't participate, because then on the stage, he's the highest in the polls, so he becomes the piñata for everyone else. So he gets more pressure.
That's a great point. That actually is a nightmare scenario for Cruz, because then Jeb, Marco,
exactly. They're going to be piling it on even more, and he's already Cruz just peaked a little bit too early, and if he doesn't win in Iowa, it's going to be seen as a loss for Cruz, whereas if Trump is, it's seen as an upset. So he really does have, the stakes are very high for Cruz, I think.
Back on the Laura Ingraham show, that's a policy advisor, Rand Paul, former Elise Jordan. A lot of interesting strategy behind this decision. Take the personalities out of it. And we look back to Reagan. We'll try to have Craig Shirley on, Reagan biographer, about Reagan's choices in the debates over the years and how that affected the campaign. We continue for a few more moments, at least, with Corey Lewandowski, who's the campaign manager for Donald Trump. Corey, you are going on, I say you, I mean your candidate, Donald Trump, is going on with OReilly tonight. Is that correct?
Well, I mean, right now it's booked, and, Mr. Trump is scheduled to do an interview with OReilly, and we'll see if that continues to go forward. But right now it's scheduled as planned.
And any other appearances on other networks today? I assume he's just going to continue to do his usual media schedule throughout all this?
Yeah, you wouldn't believe this, but my candidate generates a little bit of media attention, so he tends to have a pretty full schedule when it comes to the media. Conducting interviews and talking to the media, whether it's local media in Iowa here or local radio in New Hampshire, et cetera. But we do a pretty good job, I think, of trying to get our candidate in front of the media and driving a narrative. So I think we'll continue to do that today.
What was the one thing that tipped the balance against this appearance at the debate? Was there one thing that was finally the straw that broke the camel's back, or had it been decided before and you just waited to announce it, or what?
Well, I think really the tipping point was the unsolicited attack on Mr. Trump that Fox put out as a statement about, his relationship with Putin and potentially having some backroom information, and then that Mr. Trump would be firing his cabinet and appointing his Twitter followers, as people that he would be listening to. I think it was clearly salacious. It was clearly designed to incite. It was clearly designed as an attack on Mr. Trump. What I don't understand is the methodology behind it. I don't know why they would do that. It looks like it was written by a child over there at Fox. I'm sure it was signed off at the highest levels, right from the very top, because I'm sure that, their executive team is very aware of everything they say. But, it doesn't make any sense to me. And why a news network or an organization that is a credible news outlet would do that just doesn't make any sense. And that really is a tipping point of how you can have a fair and balanced, so they say, discussion when they're, putting out salacious statements about the leading GOP candidate in the country.
Well, what about this, though? At the debate, if you went to the debate, I mean, Brett Baer asked questions as well. It's Baer and Kelly, and he's and Chris Wallace, and you guys fielded a lot of questions from all the moderators, and again, you won the debate. So. I'm coming down right in the middle on this, because I'm not doing this interview with you as an analyst for Fox News. I'm doing this as a commentator and in this case a journalist. But what about going to the debate and just kicking tail, doing well, answering questions that are substantive?
Well,
why not?
Mr. Trump has done that on 6 different occasions. He's done it. He's won every debate. And Chris Wallace has been a gentleman. Mr. Trump has sat with him on multiple occasions over the last 2 months to do in-depth interviews. Obviously, happy to do those. Happy to do any interview with any credible reporter. But, what it is it's about giving people the opportunity to hear about the issues, and the personal attacks which are being leveled by Fox and their executives, is out of line is the problem. And I don't think it's fair to put a candidate. My job as a campaign manager for this campaign is to make sure that Mr. Trump can get his message out to the public, and we'll have the opportunity to do that in a forum which does not bring 20 or 24 million people to Fox News so that they can generate revenue and ratings. So we're not going to do that when they want to personally attack Mr. Trump.
Well, I mean, I would imagine a response, and I'm seeing some of this online this morning, is that, folks say, well, you're tough on them. Like everybody's tough on everybody else. You're tough on them. You're tough on Kelly. They tweak you back with some, humorous jab, and everyone's tough on everyone else, and maybe just everybody needs to take a breath. I mean, it seems like the temperature is really hot right now, and it seems...
Well, it is hot. It is hot, and for a good reason, right? Mr. Trump was prepared to do this debate. We've talked about it. We've had everything in motion.
Had you
His
prepped
entire
for it?
family is in Iowa.
Had you prepped for it?
As we always do. He's prepped for it. He's prepared for it. His entire family is in Iowa to participate and be at that debate. Is there at all of the debates. He's won every single debate. He's ready to go. But to have a network salaciously attack him unprovoked is really out of line. And I think what you saw again when it came to CNBC and their moderators became the story. The RNC, the Republican National Committee, stepped in and said, we can't have this. This debate structure should not be about the moderators, but should be about the candidates. And obviously, it's our prerogative to choose to not engage with individuals who want to make the stories about them and not about the policies to make America great again.
Has the RNC reached out to you, Priebus and that crowd? Have they reached out to you to try to mend fences?
No, I mean, look, it's not their job. It's not their role. What they've said is every candidate has to make a decision that is best for their campaign.
No.
So that's exactly right. I do think what you'll find is that this next debate, what probably would have been the highest rated debate in the history of presidential elections, will now get down to the standard 1 or 2 million people. No one's going to pay attention. You have a bunch of politicians sitting on the stage talking the same rhetoric that they have for the last 20 or 30 years in Washington, D.C., promising things which they can't deliver on, referring to Mr. Trump's positions now, which they've all come around to, which includes building a wall and stopping illegal immigration, none of which was being talked about before, fixing bad trade deals, none of which was being talked about before. That's what they'll start talking about now. But what the difference is these guys are all talk. They get nothing done. What we see is, a number of the candidates saying, we will build a wall now. No one talked about that until Mr. Trump brought it up. And the bottom line is politicians don't know how to build anything. So if our country truly wants something done, we need to put an executive in place who has a proven experience to actually get things done in his life. And there's only one person in this race that can do that.
When your camp was talking, he was talking about doing deals with Nancy Pelosi yesterday in the Today, I think it was the Today Show or Good Morning America, and I got more than queasy hearing that. I'm like, Nancy Pelosi, what kind of deal are we going to do with her except maybe stop TPP or something like that? But what did he mean by that? What was that? Because I think for a lot of conservatives, they hear that and they think, oh my God, Boehner was doing deals behind closed doors and Ryan was doing deals behind, and all these people were doing deals. And now we just have another guy doing deals. What did you mean by that?
Here's the big difference. Go look back in the 80s when Ronald Reagan was the president and he had to do a deal with Tip O'Neill for the betterment of the country. That's what we're talking about, is actually doing something for the country again, reducing our deficit. Look, unfortunately, whether we like it or not, Congress is a absolute failure, right? The Congress has an 11% approval rating if you actually
But it's not selling out principles. So it's not doing deals to sell out your voters or violate your campaign promises.
We're not. It's not doing that, but it's about getting things done. It's about making sure our debt is reduced. It's about making sure our infrastructure is protected, making sure that we can actually do better trade deals, unlike this disastrous Iranian deal that we've done. Look, unfortunately, whether you like it or not, there are three branches of the government, and you have to have a couple of them working together so we can actually have a country again. That's what it comes down to.
Corey, tell us about the event. What's going to transpire at this event? Are other candidates going to show up at this event? Will there be questions from a moderator, or will it just be another speech? What will happen?
Well, I think what we'll do is we're going to try and bring some veterans into the area, local veterans and maybe some prominent veterans who can tell their stories. We're going to raise money for veterans and a number of different veterans organizations, no one in particular. Mr. Trump will use his connections in the business community to try and raise money for the awareness of how the veterans are being treated. And we're going to bring them all together in Des Moines. We're going to have a nice discussion. We'll be taking questions from the audience most likely. I don't know if it's going to be a moderated discussion, but what we're going to do is raise awareness on veterans issues. Let some of the veterans tell their stories, how terribly they're being treated by the VA, how the lines are still a disaster there, how they can't get the care that they need. And we're going to raise some money so that these people can make sure that they have the care necessary to have the life that they deserve after putting their lives on the line for our country.
That's a lot to organize in 2 days. I mean, that's how. So this wasn't planned like last week. This was just you're just organizing this in like 48 hours.
Well, this is the difference. This is a different mentality of being a businessman who is used to getting things done, and a politician who talks about getting things done. I don't want to brag, but we're the only campaign in the state of Iowa that you can go to DonaldJTrump.com to and type your address in and find out where your caucus location is. You'd think this would be a basic tool that every campaign would be providing people so they can encourage turnout. No other campaign has this.
Corey,
it's not a difficult thing to do.
Corey, Ted Cruz has offered, which I think is smart of him, a one-on-one debate with Donald Trump, no moderator, just a one-on-one.
Well, I think that's a great idea. I think it's a great idea, and should Ted Cruz be able to withstand, the rigors of this campaign, and he's the last one standing in second place behind Donald Trump as we get to the end of this campaign, he'll have the opportunity to have that debate one-on-one. The bottom line
when it's all over? Why not now? What do you mean? Why when it's all over?
No, look, as you continue to winnow the field, less and less candidates will be on that debate stage, and if Ted Cruz can survive the rigors of this campaign and his message of flip-flopping on amnesty and increasing H-1B visas for illegal aliens is something that the American people want, then he'll be the second guy standing. But the bottom line is right now, Ted Cruz has all of his hopes and dreams pinned on his success in Iowa, and all of a sudden he wants to be the underdog. This is a candidate who has changed his position on ethanol in the last 2 weeks, that the great governor of Iowa has come out and said anybody but Cruz. He has some real problems, doesn't want to admit it. Look, here's a guy who can't get along with anybody.
I have a question.
Senate,
hey, Corey, when you and Trump
have one endorsement.
I have a question. When you and Trump are talking to each other, I'd like to just watch that conversation because the two of you get so much out in like 20 seconds. Like you say more things in 20 seconds than most people can say in 20 minutes. It's wild. Well,
look, our country needs to be fixed. We got to fix the country. We don't have time to wait. You got to be fast. We got to get it done. Our country's a disaster. It takes time. It takes high energy. You got to get this stuff done now because we don't have more time to waste.
Don't start calling me low energy because I still have 3 children to support. So don't start going after me as low energy. No one's ever accused me of that.
There's only one person in this race who's low energy. There's only one person in this race who's been defined as low energy, and I think everybody knows who that is.
Oh, God.
The guy who won't use his last name.
Oh, no, I said it's not an exclamation point anymore. It's a question mark. Corey Lewandowski
right.
from the Trump campaign. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.